So let's see Billy Guest list today. We have the Beastboss on Squigosaur with Ed Wappa's Kill Chopper. So, and even though my favorite is Nob on Smasher Squig, I still totally love him on the Beastboss and Squigosaur. No hate on there ever. Captain Badrock with the Flash Gits, we all know. Big shooting potential, rerolls, ammo run for the lethals. The Nob, they punch like Knobs with strength 5 and 40 punches, and then there's the wall. It's freaking great. I just keep reiterating that because it's awesome. Then Captain Radbuck's Radiation Aura doesn't always come up, but it is useful sometimes. Mozrog Skragbad, and then you got the Weird Boy for the awesome scoring. This is where you can sometimes take fix when you have the Weird Boy like that. So you have a Beast Snaggle unit, another Beast Snaggle unit, another Beast Snaggle unit, a Boys unit, another Boys unit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 trucks. That's because he put Boys, Beast Snaggle units, and Flash Gets. Bam, that's all that's in there. Then he has 2 units, 3 units of Grots to screen his backfield and possibly just walk up the table with one of them. 1 unit of Kommandos because you can't let those trucks get stuck in your own deployment zone. 3 units of Storm Boys. That way you have ultimate scoring potential. So this guy's just all over the table. Good old-fashioned Trukk Spam with a Flash Get twist and 2 very durable mounted characters that are monsters, ready to use the artist nails all game because they're the only 2 guys who are going to be using it. Now let's take a look at Billy Guest's matchup. Going into his first matchup, we have the Craft World Eldar. We have Fugin to get up again. That's what we're going to call him. The Yinkarn, very annoying as their avatar. Good fighting. The Artark Wayleaper, the Farseer, and then the Speeded Seer for Fate's Messenger. We have the Guardian Defenders. Oh, don't really usually see that. Maybe he just brought it for the Brightlands. We have Fire Dragons. Very unusual to see that as 2. Striking Scorpions, Warp Spiders, 1 Wraithguard brick with the Wraith Cannons. You don't really see the melee ones anymore. I think the melee ones are more of an issue for Orks. Not that I think they're always an issue. More of an issue for Orks, but the Wraith Cannons, they love them. They have 1 Falcon. These guys are kind of cool. They're shooting, moving around quickly. Support Deep Cannon. Warwalkers. They like to move up, think they're kind of durable, but in their opinion, they think they're durable. They're really not for Orks. As you can see, he doesn't have those indirect platforms and Night Spinners to kind of slow him. So not exactly the most meta list, but hey, beating Eldar is always very fun. Or kind of, if you in the right missions, you could just straight pressure them and take up all their small T3 units, scoring potential off the table. Boom. And when we want to throttle into their avatar and such, we can kill them, including the Yinkarn. The one weakness with that, sorry, I should have talked about, is that when you are rolling about with the Eldar, the Yinkarn, if he did indirect fire you, then he can jump into your backfield. So be careful with that with Grots. Then you have to allocate resources running backwards. Other than that, Orks do good into them. Then we're here with the Whining Wraiths, another Canoptic Wraith Court. We have the Catan of the Nightbringer, Overlord with Translucent Shroud, another Overlord, a Plasmancer, Technomancer, Transcendent Catan. Like I said, going into this, we're aware of the changes that have gone into Immortals. No more Dev Wound, so that's good to see. But here we go with 2 units of Immortals, Scanoptic Scarab Swarm, 2 units of Wraiths, some Death Marks. Okay, so a little bit of moving around the table to score with these guys because of their pregame. I think these guys get Deep Strike, I think they get Deep Strike potential. Flayed ones, these guys get their infiltrating capability, I believe. And then we have Tomb Blade for their scoring. Either Flayed ones do infiltrating or scouting. I'm pretty sure it's infiltrating. So he has stuff to get up the table even quicker with these kind of units, and then throw the race up there and then follow up with these characters, bombs of doing their mortal wounds. And then here you go, last but not least, the Catans walk up to the field. I like to see how this changes going forward with the race. with the Necrons not having access to the Devlin bombs anymore. So let's see how Necrons move going forward. We have the Adeptus Sororitas to game 3. Actually, sorry, I wanted to say here, though, he did tie on that Necron game, going into 58. So it was his hardest matchup, we can see, because those Wraith bombs can be pretty annoying. He doesn't have the killing potential of the Knob Scalpel unit. He doesn't have as much killing potential as some of the other Orc units. I'm saying Billy Guest list doesn't. So in this matchup, depending on the mission, it could be very hard to just one-shot delete those Wraith bombs. And he has 2 Immortal Bricks to do that twice, because he can do it once for free back in the day, I believe, and then once he can actually pay for it. But now you not be able to have access to that all. So that's not going to be a problematic Necron unit, hopefully, going forward, or list going forward. Like I said, though, we have this Adeptus Sororitas unit into game 3. We have the Canoness, a Dialogist, a Palatine, a Saint Celestine, and a Trafficking Saint Catherine. This is one of those units that can give a bunch of different 6 abilities. So I just want to call this out real quick. 6 different capabilities, like lethal, feel no pains, whatever, but they're going to pick 2 and hand these out. These other characters are going to either just buff the small unit that they're with, or give them better fate dice, stuff like that. But you don't see some as much as the fighting sisters right now. You have a battle line sister squad, another battle line sister squad, an immolator, a rhino. Immolators are pretty decent in my opinion. The arco-flagellants for the just straight up volume can actually not reliably, but surprisingly pick up a bunch of different orc units that we don't really like to see. They're punchy, they're fighty, but they do get picked up themselves. So be aware of them though going into the matchup, that they have the counter-charging potential that some other kind of like Imperial factions lack. The Castigators, just their version of like a Lehman Russ, does have good damage with the flat damage 3, so be careful with your Squig boys if you have them. Into this kind of Trukk Spam list, that means he can end up popping the trucks, because I think strength 9 or 10, maybe 10 with that kind of cannon, because it's the battle cannon. Even though it has low AP, but still, that doesn't matter when you're going to Orc sometimes. 2 Crusader units for scoring. The Exorcist, you got to be careful, because this list pretty much relies on these 3 Exorcists. Great indirect strength, damage, volume, all that. For indirect fire, it is heavy to kind of counter the indirect issue. And against Orcs, sometimes they just present themselves. They don't even have to indirect. You're just going to look right at you and be like, fine, that's fine. 3 good damage into you, boy. So be careful of that. Then you got the Seraphim, and then the good old Caladius Assassin. So going into this matchup, some of the things to just be careful for is that the counter-charging potential, the fact that they're going to have a bunch of different armored units and transports that you're going to have to try to pop, and they're going to have OC they're going to have to take care of. And then they have great actually anti-truck shooting as well. What it really does come down to is when they go to stand on these objectives and hold them, the orc units are just, even a diminished orc unit can pick up most sister units, including the characters. Orcs still have potential and find ways to pop these kind of little vehicles that they have, and then they'd be left over maybe with the Exorcist, even sitting in the backfield. Not an easy matchup, but Billy pulled it out with a 100-point win. So that's just him. We don't know what the mission was, but on WTC, that's still very impressive. WTC does have a lot of terrain that you can kind of run through. So even if he did get popped, I'm sure he found his way through the terrain by just disembarking behind terrain sometimes. Not that it's easy. I'm just saying that WTC has the potential to do that with its terrain. Then going into his 4th match, he ended up going into another fellow war boss. We have a Captain Badrock, 3 war bosses on this list. We're going to see how you're going to enjoy this. He has 2 Beast Snagger Boy units, 3 Boys units, a Flash Git unit, 2 Gretchen unit, a Mega Knob unit, 2 Storm Boys, then 2 Battle Wagons, and 5 trucks. So instead of going for the mounted character, the beast boss on Squigosaur characters, he decided I'm going to go for Gaz, Mega Knobs, and then everything else, and battle wagons. And it's kind of funny how he did that too. He went for battle wagons here. I love battle wagons. It comes from which list is after my heart. This list is more after my heart and flavor. If I did run a truck list, it'd be more similar to this. I'd really like to know what mission they ran, what really happened here. So if either of you gets ever see this, shout out. Both of you guys let me know how that game went, because I'd love to see it. It did end up being a 100-point win for Richie, but I don't know if it was a character, which war boss was just, one was super good and the other mission favorite. The terrain was just too much, couldn't move the battle wagons around. Who went first? A lot of the time with Orcs as well, whoever gets to charge off first just wins, because everybody can kill each other. So and the one thing that I would say is Orcs would have an issue with killing Beastboss on Squigosaur / Mozrog with this kind of list, because we have access to hard as nails, right? So the one thing is they're constantly, when they get stuck in Moz and the Beastboss on Squigosaur, they're going to be killing whatever they're fighting, and whatever trying to fight them has a really good chance to bout. That's what I would say would be most likely the biggest issue in that matchup. But let me know if you guys ever see this video. So then last but certainly not least matchup, we have Rich Steely with another Canoptic Wraith Cord or whatever. So like I said, going into this, we know that they're not going to be able to do the Immortal Braum with the Dev Wounds anymore, but we know that for the most part, Necron players are playing really heavily into these Catans. So I'd really like to see how this is going to look going forward. Like I've said, but this list lacked the infiltrating / getting up the board field earlier, and I think that kind of would hurt them into Orc. But I'm really interested in what Necron players are going to do. Today is the first day that data slate happened, the errata happened, and we have the data slate coming too. So everything's going to change going forward. But I really love to see that GW jumped on that, because nobody needs that Dev Wounds in there. So shout out to Billy Guest. He pulled out an 80, a 58, still great 58, a 100, a 100, and a 70. So great job by him going into Warlord of Walsall. War for Billy Guest. Great job, War Boss.